All right, so this section of the chapter is about the different trades, various different trades that do not usually have problems showing what they do, explaining what they do. People being explain what they do to other people. Okay, so this is the key thing, and I'm going to break these down in kind of areas, sectors. Okay, and Sally Coco, I hope that this will answer that question. But if I break it down, I'm going to try to answer the other one that you wanted, but specifically here, because you said that I did all pretty much applied sciences, and I didn't. I actually mentioned other ones too. It's just they were further down in the video. So I'm going to actually break them down to categories right now. So the types of categories in sciences, hard sciences or applied hard sciences that are easy, that have no problem explaining what they do, the value of what they do, and now I'm not talking the financial value. I'm talking about the value in general, recognized value of what they do to other people. Okay, so I mentioned medical doctors. Okay, so that could be surgeons, whatever, heart surgery, neural surgery, brain surgery, whatever, Doctor Strange kind of stuff, right? Um, or Marvel. Nurses, so because they prepare for the doctors and they kind of do all the post-op stuff and all that and the pre-op stuff and whatever and even shots and all that stuff and blood samples and whatever. Medical technologist. My father was a medical technologist. He's the one that extracts the blood from you or the other body fluids, and he analyzes those. Wait, the nurses usually extract the fluid, but my father did it too. So he's in the lab actually doing the analysis and gives that analysis back to the doctors and the nurse so they can actually get the prognosis or diagnosis, whatever. Okay. Um, those are a few applied sciences things. Okay. So, and then actually in applied sciences, other sciences like computer stuff. So computer, computer, software development, okay, or software testing, or like biology, and you wanted to go into anything kind of well, biology, yeah. Chemistry, chemists, making, I don't know, making bombs. Okay, I'm just trying to yell at that. Um, you know, the kinds of things that chemists do for making certain, formulas to be able to bring things together to create something. Okay, so actually think of a lot of things that we actually have. All the devices we have are, a lot of mixtures of chemicals. Okay, so even the phone. I mean, semiconductors. That's a semiconductor is an example of mixtures of things you can bring this thing together and make it happen, right? Um, those are kind of a few. Then physics. You can think of physics, where you've got some other applied areas of car crash test. Okay, car crash test are an example of physics. Okay, that speed hits wall, and you've got momentum which hits wall. But all these people have no problem explaining what they do to other people, right? Because these are physical things. They use their physical representations of what these concepts are. Okay, so that's what the people that are doing these usually don't have. I've actually now I think of the chemistry one. I have a friend that works in one of the labs at the National Electricity Center in France, and so she does a mixture of chemicals and stuff because she's a chemist. Okay, so yes, there are examples of this. But none of these people actually have a problem explaining what they do to anybody else. It just makes sense. Okay. Now let's take it to a few of the other things. Then I mentioned like or services, well, like bus driver, a taxi driver. They don't have a problem explaining what they do. Okay? They have no problem. Again, I'm not talking. I'm talking to recognition or what they do. It's recognized that they do something, and it's understood. Okay. Um, uh, Train driver, train conductor, train, whatever. People that actually shut the doors, the subway system. They shut the doors and open the doors, and all the people do this. None of these people have a problem explaining what they do. So I can all those transport public services, airline stewardess and stewards, and pilots. Again, transport, no problem explaining what they do. Okay, recognize value. It just we know it is. I'm saying recognition of what they do, understanding what they do. Okay, everybody understands. Um, then I want to go into a couple of the other ones here. Let's click on hairdresser, hairstylist, public service, or it's a service that's a private service. Hey, we all knew through COVID, when you all got long hair. You don't want to see the long hair I had. I looked like the doctor in Back to the Future. Okay, I lived, and when I had to finally go do my haircut, I recognized the value of a haircut because I didn't want to cut it myself. Okay, so recognize value, recognize importance of that trade. Okay, cooks and waitresses and waiters are another service. My son's a cook. He has no problem explaining what he does, and the waiters and waitresses have no problem explaining what they do. Okay, so again, these are certain services, and these and these are not, again, sciences. These are just, I mean, these are jobs, services, retail. Okay, a person that works at a store at the cash register doesn't have to explain what they do. Okay, neither does a shop owner explain what they do. They just run the whole shop, right? So if it's small business to a medium-sized business, salespeople in general just don't have a problem. I sell this. Okay, that's what they do. Can be so you can selling devices, phones, cameras, whatever, computers, or I'm just looking around me here. I'm just talking here. So whatever you got, salespeople usually don't have a problem if the thing is a concrete physical object. Okay, that's usually what the thing is. um, I could go through tons of these examples. Okay, car mechanics, body people that work on fixing the body of the car, housing people that construct the house. Okay, install the windows, do the electricity, the plumbing. Okay, all these people have no problem explaining what they do, right? Because it's kind of obvious. These are physical things in the physical world in this metaverse. Okay. Um, Now I'm going to go. Now, Sally Coco, you did mention that. Why don't I take some of the theoretical things? So I'm going to go over and throw it over to the humanities side. Okay, I'm going to throw it over there too, because some of those are more. You said like don't talk about the psychiatrist, talk about psychology and other things. Okay, so I'm gonna kind of throw it over there in that field too. So my sister did a master degree in psychology. You know what? She has no problem explaining what she does, psychology, and she used that in an applied way, and she works with takes care of foster children, centers for placing foster children and for placing adopted children. No problem explaining she does. Totally makes sense because it's service, right? People have a need. Hey, I adopted a son. I know what that need is. I know what the specific need is. So that makes sense. It totally makes sense. Easy to understand what those people do. Another example, another humanities thing, right? Her husband is actually an ordained minister, or what they call a chaplain in the army. He has a master's of divinity, theology. Okay, you know what? He doesn't have any problem explaining what he does, because what does he do? He gives counseling, spiritual counseling, to the soldiers in the army, and he also does like sermons on Sunday morning, and that kind of stuff. And sometimes, some of the other services like well, baptisms and burials. Well, they use in the army, the burial thing is like another, taken care of a different way. But usually a minister would take care of burials too, right? Those people actually, and I know a lot of clergy in churches, they have no problem explaining what they do. Now they explaining the value of what they do, how much justify their value. Okay, that's a different thing. But I'm saying what they explain what they do, they have no problem. Okay, and I'm trying to think of all these different fields here where history teachers. Okay, and I'm going to talk about teachers now. Okay, so teachers of history have no problem explaining what they do. They study history and they explain history to students, and they might write books about it, right? No problem explaining what they do. Okay. Um, I'm just trying to think of other certain areas where we can we could have books on books on cross-cultural stuff. Now, cross-culture is a little bit different because they're actually explaining how to manage conflict between people. People that do that have no problem explaining what they do, right? So it's really easy. So all of these types of things are examples of where I could start going through more. I'm just trying to. I'm actually just looking out the window, trying to see. Okay, so I can see a place there that there's an auto body stop that they sell parts for cars. They have not a problem explaining to you. There's a toy place over there. Okay, so there's a toy where they sell toys. They have no problem explaining to you these are kids for toys. Okay, there's Domino's Pizza across over there. You know what? They sell pizzas, and they provide service to people. Um, they got optometrist right there. Okay, they sell glasses for people. All these things are really easy to explain. But if it comes down to is why do people in the language industry, and be very careful here when I say language industry, because that covers a lot of things. It covers linguistics, it covers applied areas such as language teaching and translation and content writing and um, and linguistics teaching too. But it covers a lot of different areas, so I'm trying to be very general, call it the language industry. I'm sorry if people don't like that, but I'm trying to, the people that make money with the language, in language writing and content and translation, they call it the language industry, right? Well, we can call it the language field if we want to. For me, it doesn't really matter. I'm just trying to give it some terms that kind of cover this language thing, okay? And actually we can get into speech pathology, kind of fit into the language thing too. Um, that's a little bit easier to explain, and then I'll get to another video about that one. Um, so, but I just want to cover all these different fields. They have no problem explaining the service to provide, and that it's recognized for a service, okay, and it's fulfilling a need in general. Even if it's going to school and people coming to school to do a degree teaching, you're still fulfilling a need because people are going to school, paying money to go to school, right? Or someone's paying the money to go to school. Um, but these are all fulfilling a certain need. Whereas in general, people doing language industry or language field topics in general have a real difficult problem. And I've seen this for 35 years in every single language related job that I've ever done. People have a problem explaining what they do, and I'm going to get to why. Okay, but this is kind of but here's the next video. Come to the why they have to do that. Okay, so here we go. Next section.